Ciao and welcome to Italy. Today we're going to share everything you need to know before traveling to one of the most iconic countries in the world. We recently traveled Italy and it is now one of our top destinations ever. It truly is a country that has it all, from snowy mountains to turquoise blue beaches to world wonders, historical cities, and of course iconic delicious food in between. But with all of these awesome destinations comes a heck of a lot of stuff you need to know in order to plan the perfect trip here. So if you're thinking of traveling to Italy or have always had an interest in it, you've come to the right place. And believe me, this is the video we wished we had before booking our trip.
We'll be covering everything from entry requirements, currency, tourist tax, how to pay for things, where to stay, what to pack, transportation, daily budgets, scams, what to do, what to skip, and of course, safety. If you find any of this information helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could hit that like button so more people can see the video, and subscribe for more content like this. Let's start off with how to get to Italy. Italy is located in Central Europe and is bordered by Austria, France, Slovenia, and Switzerland. There are multiple options when considering where to enter the country. This will also depend on the places you specifically want to visit. The price of flights can also vary depending on the city you start in. Usually the cheapest and most convenient are Rome, Venice, and Milan. You can also do Florence or Naples, but these may be slightly more expensive. We flew from Cape Town, South Africa to Venice using Lufthansa. Our return flight was around $600 per person. We always recommend using Google Flights to find the cheapest routes and flight combinations. As for visas, Italy is part of the Schengen area, which means that many travelers from non-Schengen countries will need a Schengen to enter. The US, Canada, UK, and Australia are some of the visa-exempt countries that can stay for up to 90 days. So no need to apply for Schengen for you guys. We'll leave the link to check if your country is eligible in the description down below. If you have to apply for a Schengen visa to enter Italy, then you need travel insurance as part of the visa application process. However, if you travel to Italy visa-free like us, then travel insurance is only optional. But still, regardless of visa requirements, we always sign up for our travel insurance safety wing for every trip. We don't travel anywhere without ours, and we highly suggest you do the same. We'll leave a link to that as well in the description for you.
Next is currency. The currency used here is the euro. Right now, $1 gets you around 1.3 euros, which is enough to buy you a slice of pizza from a cheap store or a bag of gnocchi to cook at home. Eating out is definitely on the more expensive side, but we found groceries completely affordable in Italy. Once you're through security at the airport, there are money exchange booths you can use, although we don't really recommend them due to the rates being very high at the airport. Instead, use exchange booths outside in the city for a better rate. Now for ATMs. All Italian banks have a bancomat attached to it. The main trustworthy companies are these on the screen now. Bancomat is what Italians call an ATM, so if you are looking for one, just look for bancomat. Don't look for standalone machines that say ATM.
You will need cash to pay for certain things like tourist tax at some Airbnbs. We found that we did not need a lot of cash as MasterCard and Visa cards are accepted nearly everywhere, as well as Apple Pay and Google Pay, so you can tap your phone for most purchases. That includes train and bus tickets, eating out, and paying for your hotel room.
Best time to visit. Now, the best time to visit Italy depends on what you want out of your trip. It is a year-round destination. So, if you want a beach vacation, June, July, and August are the best, but they're also the busiest and hottest periods. If you want a skiing vacation in the Dolomites and to do some good hiking, then December to March is it. If you want cooler weather for sightseeing and perhaps some wine tasting in Tuscany, then consider the shoulder months of March to May, September to December as well. Exploring places like Rome and Venice in the peak of summer can be almost unbearable when it comes to the heat. Our friends told us they nearly died.
We almost died and we went in June.
Yeah, we were lucky as we went in early June and the temps were around 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, but a month later, temperatures in Rome were consistently around 40 degrees, which is so hot for walking around a city made out of stone. You will feel the heat for sure, so maybe shoulder months are better for you. We actually got a couple of cloudy days on our trip as well in June, especially on the Amalfi coast, which was our only beach location, so it was slightly disappointing. The rains come in on the Amalfi coast and flood in September as well, so you only have a short period of sun. The islands in the south, like the Aeolian Islands and Sicily, are hotter and are great in September. The off-season in Italy means cold and rain in the coastal regions and snow in the mountains. Overall, we think travel during the shoulder months of June and September would be the best in terms of weather, crowds, and prices.
Alright, let's go over what to pack now. If you're traveling during the summer months, it is super hot, so just pack your usual hot weather attire, shorts, sandals, t-shirts, etc. for summer. Italians don't mind what you wear. You can even go topless on the beaches, but just dress more conservatively in the churches and in the more rural areas. Then shoes, we recommend a really good pair of walking shoes. You will be walking a ton in the cities like Venice, Rome and Florence. We even walked a ton in places like Sorrento and Positano, and there the walking feels more like hiking, to be honest, with all of those stairs, so just pack really comfy shoes. If you're planning to travel outside the summer months, bring thermals and full winter outfits. It gets freezing, especially up in the north. If you're coming in the shoulder months, then bring a sweater and some long pants. It can get a bit nippy in the evenings and mornings. Let's go over the rest quickly. Hat and sunglasses, sunscreen, a rain jacket because it actually does rain a lot at the end of summer, a plug adapter. This is what the plugs look like here. We suggest purchasing a universal plug adapter if you can. A few more conservative outfits if you're planning to go into any Catholic churches, as we mentioned, to cover your shoulders especially. An air tag for your luggage in case your airline loses it. Waterproof casing for your phone or camera for those boat trips on the Amalfi coast. Swimming stuff and quick dry towels if you're coming in summer. And then a water bottle. Tap water is safe to drink, and many of the cities like Rome and Florence actually have fountains all over the place, so you can regularly fill up. An international driver's license to rent a car. Then 3 to 4 nice outfits for photos in Rome and Amalfi. And if you forget anything, you'll find everything else you need in Italy. The shopping is quite expensive, but they do also have the usual brands like Cotton On, Zara, H&M, etc. We took carry-on luggage and a medium suitcase. We suggest packing as light as possible for Italy and anywhere else in Europe actually, for a number of reasons. The storage in the overhead compartments on trains does not allow for large suitcase sizes. Only carry-on and medium-sized luggage can fit up there. You can put your luggage at the end of the cart, but we've heard people having their luggage get stolen when they do that on the train, so just be careful. We prefer to have our stuff in our line of sight at all times. Also, carrying big luggage on the cobblestone streets, up the hundreds of stairs in Rome, Positano, onto high train stairs, it's not fun at all. We saw a couple of people actually struggling with that. Trust us, this is the reality in all of Europe.
Please don't make the mistake of packing heavy. So if you're looking for a new smaller suitcase, or you're looking for some inspo on what to buy your partner for Christmas, you're in luck, because today's sponsor of the video is Level 8 Luggage. They recently sent us these 2 gorgeous carry-on cases. Every time we're in the airport, we get complimented by a stranger. These pieces are gorgeous. And guess what? This is an award-winning suitcase. Level 8 are a New York-based brand that creates suitcases built to last. So much so that they offer a lifetime warranty. Our cases are the Gibraltar aluminium. They come in black and silver in a carry-on size. Perfect for Italy and all over Europe. It is their most premium bag though, so if you're looking for something more affordable, head to the link in the description and browse all of their suitcases. They've got a ton of options. We were eyeing out this one with a laptop compartment, super cool. And if you shop soon, you can get a 20% discount for Black Friday using our link. So scan the QR code on the screen now or head to the description and level up your suitcase now. See what I did there? And P.S. please send us photos of you and your luggage if you do get a piece. Okay, thanks. Love you. Level 8. Bye.
Let's talk about budgets. Ultimately, the price of your trip will depend on you and your itinerary. Italy is quite an expensive destination to travel to, but we found it much more affordable compared to Switzerland and Croatia. What's going on in Croatia?
Yo, what's going on?
Something you have to budget for is tourist tax every day. You pay between 2 to 6 euros per person per day. Your accommodation will ask you to either pay it at check-in or check-out. Here are the average budgets you're looking at. If you're going to be doing budget travel or backpacking, then prices will range between $80 and $150 a day. A hostel bed is around $70 a night for a dorm room and around $130 for private rooms, going up to about $200 depending on the city. For comfort, you're looking to spend around $150 to $300 a day. This is our bracket. We spent around $120 a night booking our accommodation on either Airbnb or Booking.com. We spent 2 weeks in Italy, and overall, excluding flights to get there, the whole trip cost us $274 a day.
For the two of us?
Yeah, for both of us. That's all accommodation, transportation like trains and car hire, ATM withdrawals, and all of our food. This does exclude the things to do like the Colosseum tour in Rome, the cooking class in Florence, and our Rome food tour, as these were comped by GetYourGuide luckily. If you want to know exactly what we did and where we stayed, you can watch this video on the screen now. If you plan to live a bit more luxuriously, you could be looking at anywhere from $300+ a day.
That's if you're traveling during summer, but if you travel during the autumn, spring, and winter months, you'll save quite a bit.
Alright, let's talk about transportation now. There is a lot to cover when it comes to travel around Italy, and this was one of our most difficult things to grasp when we were planning our trip. Trains. This is the most popular form of transport for tourists. The trains are comfortable, fast, affordable, and very efficient. There's quite a bit to know about them though. There are two main providers, Trenitalia and Italo. We used both and they were both really great. Trenitalia is owned by the government and Italo is private. It doesn't make a huge difference though, because they're pretty much the exact same experience. Italo is slightly cheaper. There are two types of train routes as well. There's Regionale and Direct, I guess. The main big direct routes are between the cities of Venice, Rome, Milan, and Naples. Those train trips you must book in advance though, and they are much faster. The regional trains are a lot slower, longer, and cheaper journeys because you stop at many of the little towns along the way. If you're fast traveling like we did, stick to the fast direct trains. Now for tickets. If you buy a ticket at the train station and get a physical copy, you must verify your ticket at the station before you get on the train. Otherwise, you'll get a fine. It's pretty stressful and busy at the stations, so to avoid any anxiety of having to do that, just book all your trains online in advance and have your tickets on your phone for verification once you get on the train by a ticket officer.
Train tip. This is important. Leave early and make sure you're there at the train at least 30 minutes before. Listen to me, it's important. Why? Because the platforms are huge and there are a lot of trains. You need time to locate your train number, the platform it's on, the coach you're sitting in, and then your seat numbers. Most importantly though, just look at the train numbers. Sometimes there are two identical trains at the same platform 5 minutes apart. Make sure you get onto the right train. Don't be shy to ask people around you if you're lost. We had people get onto our train and it was the wrong train, and once the doors close, you're stuck. It's an absolute nightmare. Also, the train stops at the station for about 5 seconds and you have to get on there and then go. It's actually, the anxiety is so real. So definitely make sure you're there early. And if you're not on that train, it will leave without you. Also, make sure you're in the right seats. It really does matter. Now for train passes. You can get a train pass for both the Trenitalia and Italo separately, but many locals actually told us that train passes are not worth it unless you're traveling to more than 3 cities in 3 days. I don't know many people that are doing that, to be honest. We spent a whopping $447 on our 3 train rides. This is for 2 people, and we booked our tickets on their websites or on their apps. Buses, we use these a lot too, to get from our accommodation to our train stations, between tourist attractions, etc. Italy is very well connected by buses. We were told by a local that you have to get a physical ticket at either a bus station or at a shop near a bus station, often tobacco shops. But we soon realized they were actually wrong. You can literally tap your Visa card on the bus. It's super easy. E-scooters and e-bikes. These are in the main big cities. You can download the Lime app and use it to unlock a scooter lying on the road. There were thousands of scooters everywhere in the cities. Then for car rental, some parts of Italy are so large they're not completely connected by public transport, so we definitely recommend a car or a camper van for either the Tuscany or the Dolomites regions. They require a good old road trip, and they're probably one of the most beautiful road trips of your life. We used Discover Cars to find our cute little Fiat 500 in Sorrento, and then we drove it up to Florence. You may need an international driver's permit if your driver's license isn't in English. Camper vans. We rented a camper van because we were inspired by my grandparents. I'd always dreamt of van lifing around Europe ever since they did it in the 80s, and so we did it and we loved it. Oh my gosh. Indie Camper are the most popular van rental company, and they're so connected. You're looking at around 70 to 120 euro a night for the van, but that's your accommodation and transportation in one. It's so much fun. We highly recommend watching our Switzerland van life video next. You'll be inspired. Next, ferries. Ferry Hopper is the platform we use to book ferry tickets in Europe. Italy has over 140 islands for you to discover, and they're connected by ferry or airplane. Sicily, Sardinia, Capri, they're all very popular islands to visit. Those are the ones we're visiting on our next Italian trip. Next, e-hailing apps and taxis. Free Now is essentially like Uber, and it works all over Europe. The taxi prices are crazy high though, so honestly we'd avoid them at all costs. We unfortunately ended up at the wrong airport in Milan and had to pay 200 euros for an hour drive to the other airport on the other side of the city. Uber and Free Now wasn't working in that case, so we had no choice but to use a taxi, or we were gonna miss a flight. Traumatic day. Domestic flights. You can very well fly between destinations if you'd like, although not many people do that. The trains are definitely the way to go, but you can fly to the islands of Sardinia, Sicily, and the Aeolian Islands in the south. They have their own airports, and Ryanair is the cheapest airline in Europe.
Alright, now what to do? You can watch this top 15 Italy video that has all of our top recommendations on things to do and see, and we have our entire trip from start to finish that you can watch here too. We covered 6 destinations on that trip: Rome, Venice, Amalfi, Tuscany countryside, Florence, and Lake Como. Alright, now for the length of stay. We'd recommend an absolute minimum of 2 weeks, but we understand budgets can be an issue. You can do a few destinations in 1 week, but make sure they're close together. You could pair Venice and the Dolomites together, Milan plus Lake Como, Florence plus Tuscany plus Cinque Terre. This is ideal because you're getting city, countryside, and the sea. And then, of course, Rome plus Amalfi.
Next up, let's talk about accommodation. You can find nearly all types of accommodation in Italy, and this will be your biggest expense by far. The absolute cheapest accommodation we could find that wasn't a hostel was between $100 to $180 a night, excluding breakfast, and this was for an average place booking 4 months in advance. You're looking at between $200 and $400 a night for a much better hotel in a great location. We booked on Booking.com and Airbnb. Hostels were great options for single budget travelers. We found some awesome, highly rated ones for around $70 a night. We've linked them in our Italy resource pack for you. Hostels don't work out well for a couple though, because for the price of 2 beds is $140 a night anyway, so you may as well book a hotel room instead. A tip though, stay away from the touristy areas and you'll save so much money. Our favorite accommodation was in Tuscany. It was in the most random kind of location and it was only $100 a night. And it was chef's kiss.
Now for language and culture. The official language of Italy is obviously Italian. You might need to use Google Translate to communicate here and there with some people who don't speak English, but we found generally everyone spoke English and communicating wasn't a problem at all.
It is always kind for you to learn some of the language, so here are a few words we use quite a lot. Ciao is hello. Grazie is thank you. Grazie mille, thank you very much. Come stai? How are you? Quanto costa? How much is it? Si, yes, and no. In terms of culture, man, there has such an interesting culture that has been shaped and molded over millennia. The history of Italy is just fascinating, and you probably know a fair bit about it already, with almost every male on earth thinking about the Roman Empire on a daily basis. Italian culture is all about a mix of art, history, fashion, and tradition, shaped by centuries of influences like the Roman Empire, the Renaissance, and local customs. Italians are known for being warm, family-focused, and really proud of their regional identities. Each part of the country has its own unique food, dialects, and festivals. Meals we love are often big, multi-course events, and Italians are especially passionate about their coffee, particularly espresso. What to eat and drink? Oh my gosh, where do we even begin? Italian food is gorgeous and there are just so many different dishes, drinks, and snacks you need to try. Food tours are the absolute best way to explore the food. You won't know what the locals actually eat until you do a food tour. So we've linked them all in our Get Your Guide wishlist for you. You can scan the QR code on the screen now. Italy has a beautiful culture of drinking and eating out and slowing down while doing so. A typical Italian menu is divided into 5 sections: antipasti, primi, secondi, contorni, and dolci at the end. You can try one of each and they won't rush you at any of the restaurants either. But you can get one meal and dip like we did as well. Some dishes you need to try though: suppli or arancini, carbonara, cacio al pepe, prosciutto, tagliatelle, ravioli, risotto, fettuccine al pomodoro, pastries, gnocchi, ragu pasta, and of course, pizza. For drinks, you have to do an espresso at the bar. It's the real Italian way. Try all the coffees: macchiato, cappuccino, latte, and definitely have an Aperol Spritz, a Prosecco, and try some of the Italian wines. They are just incredible. I think my favorite part about visiting Italy was the food and drink. And then of course desserts, you've got tiramisu, gelato, cannoli, and panna cotta.
Magnifico.
A meal will cost you between $10 and $30 depending on the types of restaurants you're eating at. Pizzas were actually really cheap, starting at around $9. I did, however, honestly get tired of Italian food in the end because it was so heavy and carby. For breakfast you're eating pastries, lunch you're eating sandwiches, tramezinis, and ciabattas, and then dinner you're eating pizza and pasta. Just all the carbs, no veg.
Okay, for alcohol, it's part of the Italian experience to drink a glass of wine or 3 at dinner and to have an Aperol Spritz on a hot summer's day. Alcohol was pretty expensive in restaurants, but cheap as chips in the grocery stores. We spent around €16 for this Spritz in Positano, but a good bottle of wine can go for as little as €5 in a Tuscan supermarket. Alright, now for apps to download. First and foremost, the Holofly app for an electronic SIM card. You'll need connectivity at all times to navigate the public transport, trains, and all the apps we're about to mention. Holofly was a huge game changer on our trip, and we've decided to just sign up for Holofly on all of our future trips. It makes travel much less stressful. We signed up for the European region this time around with unlimited data, so we were connected in Italy, Switzerland, Budapest, and Croatia. We'll put our link in the comments. There are 2 train apps we use, Italo and Train Italia. You'll use these apps to book train rides, pay for them, and store your tickets to show the staff on the train for validation. Then Google Translate. Make sure you've got Google Translate downloaded. You'll definitely need this, especially in places like Tuscany, where we encountered an old granny and she didn't understand us at all.
Is it nonna?
Nonna.
Yeah.
Then Google Maps to find restaurants to eat at, which trains and buses to catch, the best cafes around you, or the nearest beach. We recommend downloading offline maps in case you are not in Wi-Fi range and out of data, so you can still navigate around safely. We share our Italy Google Map link with you in our resource pack, which covers all the places we ate at, hotels we stayed at, and over 20 accommodation options for all different budget types. So check the link in the description. GetYourGuide is the next app for all your tours and entry tickets into the attractions. You'll have to wait in the longest lines of your life if you don't book your tours and entry tickets in advance. We've linked all of the important ones like the Colosseum, Vatican Museum, the art galleries, etc. in our Italy GetYourGuide wishlist. You can find it in the description of this video and in the pinned comment and on the screen now.
Next apps, Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Wise work everywhere. You can tap your phone on the card machines to pay for things super easy. For ride sharing and taxis, you can download It Taxi, Uber, and FreeNow. They all work similarly to Uber, but prices might be inflated in certain places. We did warn you. Discover Cars for car rentals. All the big brands and locally owned rentals are on the platform, and it makes finding a car rental so much easier. Then the next app, Park for Night. If you're camping, make sure to book campsites in advance. They are quite small in Italy, but they're great. Health and safety. This is Europe, one of the smallest and most congested parts of the world, with millions of tourists visiting and moving around on public transport. The chances of you getting sick, unfortunately, are so high. I'm pretty sure Rhett and I got COVID or something from the public transport in Rome and Amalfi. You are packed like sardines in those trains. I've never had COVID before, and this was the sickest I've ever been in my life. I nearly asked Rhett to take me to the hospital in Tuscany. So many people get sick with a violent cough. They even call it the Euro cough. So just be prepared and covered by a travel medical insurance in case you do need medication or medical treatment. Hospitals will be expensive, and I know that because I visited 2 pharmacies in Italy. So expensive. Throat lozenges cost me €12. In terms of vaccinations, we always travel with up-to-date typhoid and hepatitis A and B shots. They're not required, although they're recommended. There aren't any other required vaccinations either.
As we mentioned, travel insurance is not required, but we definitely recommend it in Italy for so many reasons besides getting sick. Lost luggage by an airline is very common, missed trains due to train strikes, and most importantly, theft on public transport is a huge deal. Attenzione, pickpocket is something that we heard shouted by locals every time we were on the train, so just be wary. We also heard about these elaborate schemes to target people who look like they have a lot of electronics or camera equipment on them on the trains. You can watch this video over here. This exact thing happened to us on one of the trains, but I just tried my best not to make eye contact, and yeah, it was just a very scary situation. Next is tipping. It's not compulsory and not normal here because the service fee is already included in your bills. but it will still be appreciated if you do decide to tip. It's the same for a lot of Europe. Tipping culture is not like how it is in the US. Tip if you found the service good, and there's also no specific amount either.
Let's move on to the next one, what to skip. We've heard Naples. It's a super dirty and grungy city and kind of unsafe in areas. Some people like that kind of experience though. We found accommodation much cheaper in Naples than anywhere else in Italy, but for good reason. Avoid Rome in summer if you really don't like crowds, noise, heat, and lines. It was the most overwhelming city we had ever visited, and we've been to New York. Unfortunately though, this is where some of the most iconic landmarks in the world are, so you kind of have to visit. Then Isle of Capri, we've heard this as well. We'll still go one day anyway. Apparently the crowds are next level there. But also for a reason though, right? Scams.
Fake gelato. Always get gelato covered by these metal lids. They must be natural and pale in color, and there shouldn't be too many flavors to choose from. Then taxi drivers that come up to you when you're not in a designated taxi area, they will overcharge you like crazy. White taxis are generally the trustworthy ones. Then free stuff from strangers on the streets, don't take it. They'll demand money and make a huge scene. Then fake luxury products. Italy is the fashion capital of the world and home to some of the best designer brands, but there are a lot of fakes out there sold at some of the boutique stores. Rather go to the original stores. And that's it.
We've covered everything you need to know before traveling to Italy. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Don't forget to check out all our other guide videos to popular destinations around the world like Bali, Turkey, Greece, Thailand, Vietnam, and more. And also don't forget to grab our resource packs for each destination available on our website. Happy planning and enjoy Italy. Ciao bella!